Madlab Performance presents The Lab Podcast. Here's your host and chief mad scientist, Dan Gilbert.
Hello and welcome everyone to The Lab. I'm here with Luke, hold the line, Hillman.
Always.
And Luke, what are we talking about today?
So this week we're going to talk about the foundations of Madlab and its role to play in the fitness industry.
I've been in the fitness industry for about 11 years now, almost 12 years. I've worked in a million different places. Never had my own business until recently. Last year, in fact, 2019. I had really no intention of starting a gym. I was in real estate when this idea came up, and then it kind of snowballed really quickly into something.
Yeah.
And now here we are.
Is that just like you as in a leadership position or just in training or whatever in general?
That's been pretty much my career. Yeah, as long as I've been a professional.
Okay.
I've been interested in fitness longer than that.
Yeah.
And I guess I had I worked in a gym when I was in college for a little bit, but I didn't do anything other than rack the weights.
Yeah.
And then they would pay me to rack the weights, make sure nobody died.
Yeah.
And I could lift.
Yeah.
On the clock, which was very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Definitely an extensive resume for 12 years.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of places.
Yeah. So from that, what made you ever decide, was there a point where you decided you wanted to have your own thing? You wanted to be in charge?
I think for me, it came down to once I got I've gotten out of the fitness industry in that time twice for very short periods of time, and both instances I regretted it and missed it badly. Yeah. So there's that. I also do like to be part of in a leadership position. I like to help people with their businesses. I like to help people figure out what they're trying to do. I like to give some guidance and direction and be able to teach people. I guess if you look at one thing, it's the teaching aspect that I enjoy the most. I think that's what drew me to training in the first place, because you're teaching clients.
Yeah.
But I even more so enjoyed teaching trainers and business to trainers. And then I think after being at so many different facilities, I think I've worked personally in 20 different facilities for a number of different companies. I always ended up bringing my own system and developing my own system. And I always thought that I wanted to do it my way.
Yeah.
And I had a good idea of how I wanted to treat people. And I didn't like the fact that one change above me could bless you, Jack. Jack Gilbert here was doing a little Zoom call with his classmates. I think we heard the very end of that. That's over? All right. What's good? You can go back on the computer if you would like. There you go. Just try to keep it down as much as everybody likes to hear you on the podcast. But I didn't like how one thing could change above me, and then that could affect not only my job and my future, but it could affect everybody below me as well.
Yeah.
So all my employees, the way they had to do things, the way they got paid, anything like that could be changed just from one thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe it wasn't a decision by some kind of upper management or anything. Maybe it was a sale.
Yeah.
A whole company gets sold, and then now what do we do? And that was something that I never had any control over.
Yeah.
So I have always thought of owning something on my own, but I wasn't really sure what that was going to be.
Nice. Very interesting.
Thank you, Luke.
With that, so what I'm hearing from this too is it wasn't just a training aspect that wanted you to own your own place, but also just from a structural standpoint, from what you just named, just being more empowered to your employees, empowering your employees. It's something you seems like
Yeah, that's
that
probably
is what led you.
That's the most fun thing for me. And then I like to be able to be able to give them something in some kind of structure and then teach them within that structure so that I can watch them grow and then be able to support their growth. So as long as my business grows, I can have a place for somebody willing to grow within the business, where if I'm somewhere else, unless they're going to change the structure of something, I could have somebody tremendously talented that's working for me. And then if there's no, let's say I'm a director, if there's no other directorships open in the company, then that person, their growth is now stunted.
Yeah.
And to me, that's unfortunate. And that means that they have to go somewhere else. And that's, no one's real fault, but that's just the way things are. And then I'd have to give them that kind of advice.
Yeah.
And so then I wrote a lot of recommendation letters and stuff like that, which I'm glad to do. But it'd be much cooler if I could be like, hey, Luke, you're good at this, this, and this. How about we start doing this with the company and you can head that?
Yeah.
You can spearhead that, and then I can watch your growth from there, and then I can help support that. Like, that's something that I'm very interested in, and I've been able to do that with my own company.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the thing that I enjoy the most, for sure.
So you really, because like one of the things that I see in my short time in the fitness industry and from working with you and everything is just the lack of consistency of what you're saying, where in pretty much any facility, there's so much turnover.
Yeah.
There's no true identity in a lot of these places, if you ask me.
I think that,
and if there is, it's not for a long period of time.
And I think that comes from it being still a pretty young industry,
Yeah.
and you have a lot of people that get into owning their own gyms. It's almost like a younger restaurant industry.
Yeah.
Because it's as volatile as the restaurant industry. Because while it is a business, you can't just know business concepts and go into fitness. You can't just know business concepts and go into a restaurant. Like, you actually have to know the industry.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunately, like, people go into that, don't know those things, and then fail.
Yeah.
Because of that. So that causes a lot of issue, and then it causes them, as they start to fail, to either change things drastically or to not ever be able to come up with a process in the first place.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of places that, all right, here's how we made money in the beginning. How do we evolve that? How do we come up with a process to support that? And that's why you don't get a lot of consistency, because there's just not really any standardized procedures, or it's not super common.
Yeah.
And then with that, then it's really hard to bring new people in, teach them it, and then have them grow, right?
Yeah.
If I bring somebody new into a position, I should be like, all right, I hired you because you have a lot. Here are the personality traits that you have that I can't change.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you have these personality traits. Now, all I need you to know is I need you to know these. I need you to have these techniques. I need you to know these strategies. I need you to use this kind of wording. That's all teachable.
Yeah.
And I should be able to have a process by which I teach you those things so that you can use those personality traits with the knowledge that now I'm like that we're teaching and with the new process and stuff, and then that can really help propel your career, not only what you're doing, but then also what you may want to do in the future.
Yeah.
Right? And then using the company as a vehicle for that.
So a lot of development then, which I actually would say you don't see, you would know this better than me, but anywhere, or it's super rare.
Yeah, I think a lot of places try to do different developments and they try to get it started, but it's tough because, again, you have people that come into it and then don't have all the aspects. So if I own a gym and let's say I was a really good trainer and now I own my own gym.
Yeah.
Well, if I was never really good at sales and I was just good at keeping my clients, then how am I going to teach sales to somebody?
Yeah.
Right? Or let's say my programming was pretty much always the same. I never really developed that further. Then maybe I was really good at the sales model, but now I don't have a quality programming to back that up. I just pretty much use my personality.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be able to teach that personality to everybody.
Yeah.
So if I don't get people with the exact personality as me, then how am I going to teach these people how to sell and get clients? Or how am I going to teach them quality programming? Like, what's that all going to look like?
Yeah.
Right? And then what's it going to look like more past a day, a week, 2 weeks, or whatever? Like, how am I going to continue their growth for 6 months, for a year? I think that a lot of people, there's high turnover at a lot of these jobs, again, because people don't feel like they're being supported. They don't have consistency. They also don't feel like they're growing and moving into something. And sometimes because people don't generally try to do this, but sometimes they don't appreciate their employees, right? They don't take time to appreciate their employees, which is supremely important. And they might think they do, but they're probably, because of these lack of processes and some struggle that they're going through, they're pretty much just trying to keep their business alive.
Yeah.
And then they might have X number of employees and just forget that those people need to feel appreciated. And if those people start to leave, then their issues are going to become much, much worse, right? Turnover is never a good thing. One, turnover is very expensive. It's always more expensive to hire a new employee than keep one. Almost always, like 99% of the time. And then also it looks bad too. If you come into a place and you're used to seeing the same 5-10 trainers, and then the next day there's 5 new ones, and then a week later those 5 are gone, there's 5 new ones, you're gonna be like, why are people leaving? And it causes, now you don't have consistency for your own clients, even if the training's the same. Right? People like to see the same faces. They like to see like some kind of, again, to use the word again, consistency, right? And
if you keep letting that happen, you can't build anything. You can't build anything if you're starting from scratch every 2 months.
Yeah.
Like with, you know what I mean, with like the constant turnover. So you're not going to build what you want to build. You have to have that consistency. Is that correct?
Then you're pretty much just spinning your wheels all the time.
Yeah.
And again, I think it just starts with a grounded. It's grounded in processes and strategies that are proven and that you're very consistent with, and then you can help somebody grow through a certain length of time.
Yeah.
Right? So it can't be, we have our onboarding procedure. How long is the onboarding? A week, a month. Well, then what happens after that?
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to learn somewhere for a month, great. I'm excited about that. But after that month, is there still continuing education?
Yeah.
Besides like some kind of place that I can go onto the internet and be like, oh, I'll just take this class on the internet.
Yeah.
Like that's not, you need to have in-person development, especially with I think your direct supervisor. Most people leave their jobs because of something going on with their direct supervisor, whether they don't feel supported, they're not getting growth, they don't feel appreciated, or a million other issues that could come from a direct supervisor. We've all had direct supervisors at some job or another that we didn't really get along with, and eventually probably moved on from the job because of that.
Well, especially in the training industry, it's like a jungle where it's just like it's what it seems like. You have your supervisor, and the supervisor's job is just to make sure you live to their standards, which is usually just get as many clients as you can and keep them.
It's a volume game. It's a volume game. If you want to sell this much personal training, then you need to make this many calls or talk to this many people.
There's
on the
no
floor,
relationships,
and then this many. Yeah,
it's awful.
I hate hearing the numbers game thing. Like if you want to hear standard operating procedure in a gym environment, like a big gym environment, and this is not every gym at all. And I think that people are starting to get away from this, and that's good.
Yeah.
But especially like when I came into the industry, over 10 years ago, you go into a gym, the director hires you. First thing you're doing, one of the first things you're doing, all right, let's set up a table. You're going to sit at the table. You're probably going to have the body fat machine, like the little Omron thing, which is not accurate anyway. So the bioimpedance, you're going to hand it out to people as they come through the door, which people probably are not super happy with anyway.
When you walk in the door and someone just wants to take your body fat percentage, you're not happy about that?
Yeah.
That's not how you want to kick off your workout?
Yeah. You're uncomfortable in the gym the first place.
Hi, can I tell you how fat you are?
Right.
I mean, come on.
But that's what it's like.
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to sit there, and if they are larger than they're supposed to be, you'd be like, oh, I can help you become less large.
Yeah.
Like it's just, and to me, that's so arrogant, and to me, frankly, it's rude. And then that person knows that, for the most part, or they should. So then they're going to be uncomfortable. So like when I had to do that, I always try to do things at 100%. So I would do it, but I was very uncomfortable doing that stuff. And there's not a lot of success with that. Like then you're supposed to take that and then you turn that into an assessment, and then you go do your assessment, and then based on your assessment, then you're supposed to show prices and do all this stuff or whatever. And some of that I agree with, but the way of getting clients should not be, I think in the gym industry, it shouldn't be looked at as a pure numbers game.
Yeah.
Right. I would rather get my people off the floor by building relationships over a long period of time. Right. It shouldn't be like, hey, Luke, I want you to go talk to 10 people today, and you should get 4 assessments out of that.
Cold call?
Yeah, that's
Give me a list.
even worse. The list.
Give me a list. Telemarketing?
Mind-numbing, right? so, man, this I could go back. So cold calling is, again, people don't like that. Like, think about when somebody calls you and you answer
He's
the
a
phone.
telemarketer. It's like the age of the
Basically,
telemarketing.
yeah.
Who likes telemarketers? Mike, you like telemarketers?
I love them.
Mike loves them. Mike's the only outlier.
Well,
here.
Mike's a nice guy. Yeah. But if I'm calling somebody, like, you answer the phone. If somebody's calling me and I answer the phone because I expect that to be something important.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's about something that I had no idea this person was going to talk about, and they're basically trying to get me to go do something or sell something to me or whatever. My immediate reaction is I just want to get off the phone. And that's what happens a ton of the times, right? And so then they're like, oh, well, you have to have a specific way of talking to them. No, it's a waste of time. Because if I make 100 calls and they're like, all right, well, out of every 100 calls, you should expect that you'll talk to X number of people and this will turn into whatever sales. So if I have to make 100 calls to make 2 sales, that's not worth my time.
Yeah.
Right? I would rather the trainer instead be seen more on the floor. Now, I might be like, Luke, I want you to go talk to 10 people, right? And talking to them can just be like, hey, how you doing today? And then walk right by them.
Yeah.
Some of them will just, how people are, like, out of 10 people, you probably have 2 or 3 that'll want to engage you in some kind of conversation, because a lot of times people are there to be talkative too, right?
Yeah.
But now at least if you walk in front of somebody and you say, hi, how are you? Even if they don't answer or whatever, if you do that consistently, that person is going to be like, oh, Luke is just a nice guy. He just walks by me and he says hi to me every day. I'm going to start saying hi. Also, if I have anything going on in the gym and I have a question about it, it's going to be so much easier to ask you, right? Because you've said hi to me like 10 times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, this guy always says hi to me. Always is a trainer here. I know who he is. I'm going to go ask him, what about this exercise? Because I really have no idea what I'm doing with this.
Yeah.
And I know that he's not going to just try to get something from me, because he is plainly nice to me for no reason.
And
right?
also, too, like when you're working out and someone just comes up to you,
Yeah.
how happy are you about that?
Yeah, right. If
I
you're
know,
not happy
I
at
know
all.
me. Leave
Right.
me the hell alone.
Right.
All right?
I know that.
All right?
Yeah,
You know what I
right.
mean? And so you kind of start as like in a spot already. You actually already, in my opinion, started at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
You're already kind of like, you're already trying to dig yourself out of a hole
Right.
before
It's just-
anything's even started, really.
It's just rude, and people already have enough trouble trying to work out without like external factors causing problems or annoying them, right?
And a lot of people are time constrained.
Yeah.
Like whether, some places have kids zone or whatever, like my kid can only be in there for X amount of time, so I got to get through my workout.
If you really want to be like, if you got into this industry the right way because you want to help people, and then you want to talk to more people on the floor, if you want to go past just saying hi, how are you, and then see where the conversation goes, then if you see somebody lifting, and let's say they're putting weight on the squat rack or taking it off or putting weight on the bench press or whatever they're doing, right? Go to the other side and help rack it or help put something on it. Like, do something like that with nothing attached.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, I got you, man. Put it on right
I don't
arm
even
and
think
walk away.
when I've been on the floor and I've personally talked to somebody, it never starts really with a training subject.
No.
It's just
Ever.
a conversation.
Yeah.
And then it's just what you were saying, just about building up relationships, which is not important to a lot of people in this industry.
And that's the thing. The hilarious thing, though, is if you start talking to them, like I've done this before, like you could have something on TV and then make a passing comment about whatever it is.
Yeah.
Eventually, especially if that person does have questions or whatever, eventually it's going to come back to training, whether they were really interested in a training question to start with and like, oh, here's a trainer, here's my chance to ask a question.
Yeah.
Or if they're just like, oh, this person is nice, they happen to be a trainer, I feel like I need to keep this conversation going. I'll ask them about training, right? Those conversations turn into training conversations, right? If they're really interested, and that's a way to find out that person will know if they're interested or not, right? They're going to ask those questions. It's not for you to be like, hey, you know what you could do better than what you're already doing? because I'm arrogant and I'm better than you, so I'm going to show you that right now. Like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
You know, go help them with weight. Go just say hi to them with nothing attached to it. Go do that, and then go walk around. Go ask them if they're like lifting heavy. Be like, walk by them like, oh, do you need a spot real quick? And then if like, no, like, all right, well, if you go up and you're in a place that you're uncomfortable, you can always ask me, and then just walk away.
Yeah.
Right. There's a million ways to do it, and you're just trying to build it up over the long time. Over the long term, my issue with these number things in the short term is that that's all you're looking at. You're like, all right, Luke, 10 people today.
Yeah.
Right? Those are 10 people you're not building a relationship. You're just trying to grab people and make a number out of them. You're just now doing statistics, which is stupid in a relationship-based business. And if you want to have long-term clients, then I don't know how you don't go about it in a relationship-building way.
Yeah.
Right? So that was, sorry for the long rant, but
no.
That was one of my big issues with the industry, and I kept looking at it, and I just wanted to do things differently.
Yeah.
And so everywhere I've gone, I've, a lot of times, not everywhere, but some places, a lot of places would tell me, like, this has to be numbers wise, and I would nod my head, and then I would go do it the way that I wanted to do it, and it, more often than not, ended up better than everybody else was doing it. So then I figured, it'd be nice to be able to do this exactly the way that I wanted to without any changes happening above me.
Yeah.
Other than, like a pandemic coming around and affecting everything.
Just a little pandemic, nothing to worry about.
Right.
One of the things I wanted to talk, you touched on it indirectly, but we were talking about it earlier today, and I'm trying to figure out how to properly word this, but the lack of, I guess, desire to teach other people. From either a scene, like someone who's a trainer, like been in the industry for a while, there's like that insecurity about teaching your knowledge. And I personally, before you answer, I just want to say, I think it's a complete insecurity thing. And I think it creates a hostile training environment because it's like everyone's against each other.
You're talking about like, I have, there's a staff of 10 trainers, right?
Yeah.
And basically it's like 10 different businesses.
Yeah.
And I think it starts with, so I think some of it can be an insecurity thing. So what Luke is talking about is like, a lot of times it's 10 different trainers. A lot of them are contractors, but even if they're W-2 employees or whatever, they are kind of pitted against each other and they're just looked at as sales numbers.
Yep.
Luke, I want you to be able to do 4,000 this month or whatever. I want you to be holding 10 clients this month or whatever it is, right? And so then you're in direct competition. You're put in direct competition. People say it's healthy competition with the other trainers on staff.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is insecurity because then people feel like they're threatened by some whoever, and that's the same in any kind of work environment.
Yeah.
I think it's worse in training not because of the insecurities. I think it's worse in training because of the way that it's as soon as somebody comes in, the way that the job description is.
It's a lot of phony. It's fake. It's two-faced. It's like, oh, glad you're here. No, you're not.
Right.
Like a lot of people don't want that. They don't want that new trainer in.
I think it's because of the way they were brought into the job. So it's part of their job description. Like, think about it. When you come into a place, you're oftentimes, it's almost like you're in a pyramid scheme in a way. So like, they're just like, you can make as much money. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze. This pollen is, it's not the Rona.
It's not the
Rona. It's just this tree pollen in there. But they're like, you can make as much money. It's really up to you how much money you make. Really, it's your own business. Like, this is your own business, and you should take control of it in that way. Like, you're already setting people up to be in competition with each other. Yeah. And then you're doing sales boards to have, like, the top 5 leaders and do all these things and give bonuses or whatever you're going to give to the top person. Or whatever, like you're now directly pitting people with no relationship against each other. If you're going to create a competition between people, create a competition with people after building a relationship and like a bond between them.
Yeah.
Right? So if you and I are going to compete, or you, me, and Hendy are going to compete, or Logan or whatever, we all have a bond together. That will be healthy competition. Yeah. Right? But now we've already done 1 million developments together. We've already lifted 1 million times together. We've done business together. We've worked at multiple places together. So we play video games together. Yeah. So like, we already have a bond. That's going to be healthy competition. Yeah. You bring in a new trainer, and then there's 6 other trainers that don't really talk to each other at all, that are told that they're their own business, and they're constantly pitted against each other. That is not healthy competition.
Yeah.
And that's going to show up in that environment, and clients are going to see that. They're going to see that trainers don't talk to each other. When if one client is with one trainer and that trainer leaves and they go to another trainer, that first trainer that left doesn't care about the other trainer at all, so they'll never even talk about it.
No.
If they go on vacation and somebody wants to go away to Aruba for 2 weeks, if you're their client, then most likely you're not working out for 2 weeks, because that trainer does not want to give you to another trainer for fear of losing you.
Yeah.
Right? Or for numbers going down, or whatever is going to happen. Yeah. And to me, that's ridiculous, and that's a flawed part of the system as well. And that's another thing that I hated, that I didn't want to.
It's archaic. It's an archaic.
Really
it's and it's, you touched on it too, with just the,
as Henry would say, dinosaurian.
And it was kind of what you were saying earlier too, just with even the tactics, or whatever you want to call them, of presenting yourself to a member or client.
Yeah.
Is fossilized.
You want it to look at like a professional atmosphere, and you also want it to be more of a family. Yeah. Right. People are gonna continue to use something if they think it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
Common sense, right?
Yeah.
For something to be worthwhile in fitness, they have to be consistent, right?
Yeah.
So they have to consistently come in. People are more likely to come into a place, and it's gonna be more difficult to leave the more people that they know somewhere. So to me, I wanted to create Madlab like a family, so that when somebody comes in, they don't know just their trainer.
Bad idea.
Terrible idea.
That's a terrible idea.
Terrible idea.
You can't have relationships with your employees.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
What do you think, Mike? I think it's terrible. Terrible. Yeah.
So I want people to be able to come in, and if they train with me, then they know you, and then they know, I want them to even know Jack over there.
Yeah.
Like, I want them to know my son. I want them to know Mike. I want them to know Bob. I want them to know Logan and Josh and Kaylee and all the stuff that everybody does.
Yeah.
Right? I want them to know Hendy doing the videos and stuff like that. Like, I want them to know everybody, so that when they walk in, they are like talking to everybody. They're excited about something that happened on the weekend. They're going to tell somebody else that they're not even training with about, because it had something to do with them, and somehow they have their own relationship with that person. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Then that person, this is almost like a second home for them.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I think, that any business where you depend on a customer coming in and having a good experience, you should want to build that. Right? Most people, when they go to a restaurant, like my parents go to a restaurant every Friday night.
Yeah. Your favorite, I believe.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So we're not even in the restaurant. The employees are amazing, because they make my parents feel like celebrities every time. The food, even if you ask my parents, they'll say the food is okay.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think it's that great.
Best chicken tenders according to Jack, though.
Yeah, he did say. Right? Yeah, true. So then they go there every Friday. They will not miss a Friday, even on my birthday.
Yeah.
My mom did not want to go where I wanted to go. She still wanted to go there, because they're treated like celebrities every time I walk in. They know multiple people when they walk in.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps them coming.
Yeah.
Right? If you have a business that is dependent, again, on customers coming in and having a good experience, that's what you should be looking for. How many people can I get these people to know in this place?
Yeah.
How can I get these people to be on a first name basis with 50% of my staff, 75% of my staff, everybody, right? The more likely you are to build that, the more likely they are to stay with you.
Yeah.
Right? Which is important. And you should, like, obviously that's important from a business stance, but you should want to do that anyway, because it just makes a much more fun environment.
And that's, to what you're saying, I do want to interject, is if the trainers are happy, they see that. Clients and members will see that.
Absolutely.
And then it's infectious.
Yeah, because if they're miserable, man.
Which you see a lot of times. People like sulking or bitching in the corner.
Yeah.
Pardon my French.
It's okay.
But like, you've seen that how many times? Probably countless times.
A lot of times, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, and that rolls out to everyone else.
And then you get those negative conversations where, like, something will happen to a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
And then the trainer goes, or like something will happen with like a billing thing or whatever. And they're like, oh, well, they mess that up a lot. And they're just like, they is now, you train for this company, but now you're talking about that company as a they, almost like you're not part of that. Yeah. Right? And that's the trainer's fault for sure for saying something like that. But that's also something the company bred into them, right?
Yeah.
The company, obviously, they don't feel supported by whatever, or they're tired of whatever issues. So then now, like, they're trying to separate themselves. So there's faults all over the place with that. And that was built, that started to come to fruition because of exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I agree with you.
With that being said, you definitely explained a lot of things here. So we definitely got to peek into your mind a little bit. But I would consider you a very ambitious person, and there's always a reason for why you're doing something. So
Well, I appreciate that.
do you wish Madlab to do to the industry? What do you wish Madlab could be? What do you want to do with the company to make it almost a spearhead for something? It's like, what are you trying to change in the industry and using this? I know it's maybe an awful question, tough question, but like, what are you trying to do in this? What are you trying to use Madlab for to advance the industry?
So again, it comes down to teaching and creating a better environment.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that whatever you do as a human being, like, we're very societal creatures.
Yeah.
So we're very dependent on society, and then our societies are very dependent on our skills.
Yeah.
So I want to do something. I think that innate in all of us are skills and talents, and then also a want and desire to better things around us.
Yeah.
So I want to use Madlab as a way to help educate in multiple different ways, and to help people's lives in a variety of different ways.
Yeah.
For example, if it's clients, then I obviously want to get them to be moving better and more healthy, and get them towards their goals, and get them excited about exercise and liking to be in an environment with exercise, and not think of it as just, death on a Tuesday and a Thursday or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And something that they hate doing. There's always going to be aspects that you don't like as much, but overall, they'll think more positively on exercise. I also want to educate them on the way that they're supposed to move, and like how we program, and so that they can do some of the programming themselves and those kind of things. I want to be able to take Madlab and teach other businesses too. I want to be able to teach other businesses, which is why we do the consulting, how to create a great environment, how to treat their employees, how to get people to feel supported, how to create like a family atmosphere, those kind of things. I want to be able to use Madlab as an educational tool for trainers that aren't even part of Madlab.
Yeah.
Just to further the education of the industry, right? So that it's like less of, I do 1 million leg extensions. Obviously, that's an exaggeration, but sometimes not so much.
Yeah.
And then instead start looking at these different movements. Here's how people should move. Here's what your programming should look like. Here's some of the ratios with the shoulder or the upper body. Here's what should be stable. Here's what should be mobile. Here are some assessments to look at, like when you look at your people and be like, oh, here's the assessment. What do I learn from that assessment? How do I change that in my programming? Now I'm a better trainer.
Yeah.
Now I'm more excited about this. That's what I want to do. So whether somebody works with us or doesn't, I don't care. I just want to help further society by educating and then teaching people to have a more positive experience with exercise as a whole.
Yeah.
So any way that we can do that and support that, and I think that we have the skills to be able to do that in all of those arenas that I just mentioned. So that's my broad, real general vision for Madlab. And then as certain things start to evolve and take hold, then we create different aspects in our company, which is why we do the consulting. That's why we're starting to like do workshops with the trainers that are not even part of our staff.
Yeah.
As well.
Can you do that though? I don't know. Right. I don't know. Sharing information
don't teach other trainers anything, because otherwise they'll take over your business.
Yeah.
Which is, again, that's
Trojan horse.
That's a flawed thing too. You should want to make everybody better around you. If you make everybody better around you and you do it, I think with a good heart and head on your shoulders.
But you should be in this industry. If you're not in this to help people,
right,
you're not going to be overall successful. Whether it's personal happiness, financial, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, you should not look at training and be like, all right, well, I don't know if I really want to train people. I don't like people that much, but I know there's a lot of money to be made. You're going to fail.
And if you limit yourself to one demographic, like how many times do you want to hear somebody, I only want to train athletes?
I honestly don't have much of an issue with that, as long as you do that the right way.
Yeah.
To me, when they say, it's always funny because I think that a lot of times when you have people that just want to train athletes and then you start to teach them and
but
evolve
if you really love training,
But that's what happens. So
It's
so like a lot, because I've been told that before.
Yeah,
right? And some people are that way, and that's completely fine.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
You know, as long as they like stick to that, and then don't like try to trade it. If you really don't want to train any general population, and you just want to train athletes, which I think ends up happening rarely, but it does. And then if those people want to stay in those those that like take that avenue or whatever, is fine with me, as long as you know what it is you like and what you don't like. What I find that happens, a lot of people that say they just want to train athletes in particular, is that they start to learn that a lot of athletic movements are good for everybody. And then you can take some general population and you're like, holy crap, I just had this 60-year-old lady come in, and then I applied some of my athletic training, you know, within regressions and progressions, being smart about that. But then now she's able to like trap bar deadlift. Now she's able to actually, like, I even worked on like some of her angles with just running, and now she's able to run with no pain. Like stuff like that is super cool. And when you apply that to general population, sometimes it's even more fun because athletes know they're going to be athletic or they want to be athletic. They know they're playing a sport. You have general population that thinks that sport and play and stuff like that is over. And then you start to give them some of those athletic movements, and they start to like really, it changes their life and their view of exercise and stuff. They're like, oh my God, I can jump? I didn't think I'd ever be able to jump again. This is cool. And now I don't have pain doing this. And sometimes that's even more rewarding. So I've had people that told me that they want to train athletes and stuff, and then they start training some general population on more athletic movements. Because I'm a big believer that everybody's an athlete. Everybody's an athlete.
I feel like when it comes to, this is my point of view, like, not obviously it's not everyone in this case, but I feel like it's also people use it as a status thing. Because they feel like because they're training athletes and they're that status level of trainer, when you could make the argument that working with general population, someone who's 60, 70 years old, some people who can't do basic things, you get them doing
is more
challenging, and I would say even rewarding. Than
quality of life is a big thing. And you know, like, you can make people more athletic, but
even the best,
you can improve everybody's quality of life. But there are very few athletes that you're going to train and get them to be a paid athlete, or get them to be a scholarship athlete, or like be the difference in that. So, and you can be to a good amount. But again, you can improve the quality of life of 100% of people. Right. So, and it's if you do it the right way, it's easier to take somebody and improve their quality of life when they're 60, 70 years old and help them to be like more pain free and stuff like that than it is to take somebody that's like 16 years old and get them to be a D1, get a D1 scholarship. Because there's a lot of other factors in than just athleticism, right? Where just getting the person to move better improves their quality of life. Also, challenge wise, you know, if you have an athlete, especially if they're a really good athlete, you know, you can definitely improve their athleticism and stuff, but I think it's more challenging to take somebody that is in a lot of pain and can't move. It's more of problem solving. So if you can do that at a high level, then I don't think that one separates from the other. If that's what you're talking about, I don't think you can take somebody that just trains athletes and like thinks. I don't know why somebody would think they're just on a so much higher level than somebody that trains 70-year-olds. You know?
I see that.
It does happen. I see what you're saying. But that's an ego thing, and you're going to find that that's going to be something that goes across any business and any industry, right? You're always going to have people that are ego bound, and they're looking for a way to hide their insecurities behind some kind of specialization or whatever. Where really you should be, if you're specializing, it should be, I specialize because I know this is what I enjoy. I specialize because I know that I'm good at this, and this is the best way that I can help people around me. Right. So like, if someone came to me and they're like, Dan, I hate training anybody under the age of 10. I just can't do it. You know, I just can't.
I think that's a little different. That to me is a little different.
Or over the age of 50, whatever it is. Like if somebody were to say that to me, then I'd be like, all right, I get it. You know, just stay with what you enjoy. Because if you enjoy it, you're going to be better at it. You know? So it is what it is. But I see what you're saying.
And even from a business standpoint, why would you want to limit yourself to one demographic?
Or like one modality of training. Like I've had people, I love TRX. I love TRX. However, sometimes when people have had like the training, they just like, that's it. Like that's what they want to do. And they're like so pigeonholed in that. And I'm like, well, no, it's a great suspension training tool and you can use it all over the place. But there's other things that you could be doing if you have the equipment to do it that are better in certain areas. You know, we constantly use TRX and other kind of suspension trainers.
It's
and rings
great,
and stuff like
but it's not the end all be all.
Right, and I don't think that anything in exercise is.
No.
So I don't like when people are like, I just use kettlebells.
Yeah.
It's fine if you just use kettlebells, but don't try to tell me like that's
Don't make it a Bible.
Right.
It's not the Bible of training.
That's it. Right. It's got its place, and it's amazing in a bunch of different ways.
And once again, we use kettlebells all the time.
Yeah.
But it's just like you said.
I'm staring at them right now.
Yeah.
So I used them in a terrible workout last night that I, for some reason, like a maniac, I decided to do at 11:30 at night. No warm up or anything, like an idiot. So I don't know. I was like, I missed my workout. I got to do this. And so I did a kettlebell workout. That's neither here nor there, though. Look.
Well, I thought it was a great discussion today. How do you feel?
Good. It's weird to go through a lot of that stuff. I like to talk about some of those things because some of them, like, you don't think about as you're doing them, and like I think about why I do stuff a lot of times, but then going back over it, you're like, oh yeah, and then kind of like refocuses some stuff.
Yeah.
And then you start to think about like the history of things and like how like your mind developed around certain concepts and like created, or not created, but maybe like took some belief systems and like, all right, I'm going to hang on to this because now I believe in this because I've seen this, this, and this happen.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a neat way to go through it.
Yeah.
For sure.
With that being said, I hope everyone enjoyed what they were listening to. You can find us on madlabperformance.com and look us up on Instagram, Facebook, and most of you guys are on those social media platforms all day anyway, so just go ahead and give us a like.
And once again, thank you everybody for tuning in to The Lab.